I want to explain 3 ways of making tattooing artificial skin more realistic. You might have guessed, first method is using an armrest. Let me quickly explain why. So obviously, usually we're just on a table. The armrest is obviously cushioned, so it allows that extra little bit of movement like a real person. So that's the first reason, jumping into an armrest. However, we're not always tattooing straight down. Think about when you're tattooing somebody's arm or any other body part, it's not perfectly flat. So here's the beauty, you can tilt the armrest and lock it into position. So therefore, just tattooing on an armrest makes everything more realistic. Just let me lock this into place. Perfect. So the next method, just let me lower this down. So we've now got a way of tilting as mats rather than just being on a solid table. It also adds in the movement, all right, rather than a hard surface. 2 really important points. So the next thing is obviously, as well as tilting, body parts are not always flat. Well, fucking no body part is, not even back. There's always little lumps and bumps. So how can we simulate that? So the best method that I've found is if you just get a little Pilates, yoga ball, whatever you want to call them, back stretchers, or even some kitchen roll might work for this. And you can just place your mat over the top. Really, really good for simulating a leg, an arm. All right, so we can see that it takes the shape of it. You can just tape it on to keep it into place. But then, instead of just tattooing a flat surface, you're now having to arch round. It also allows that little bit of movement. So what we don't get from just doing it on a solid table or the armrest alone is anything that we can move and manipulate. Well, a person, you can rotate the body parts. So rather than just this hand now being for stretching, it's also stability. Makes it really, really realistic. It's a lot more difficult to tattoo like this than it is just on a flat table. So getting yourself one of these, they're super affordable and cheap, is really, really good. Obviously, when I'm demonstrating in the lessons for camera angles and to be able to physically see everything, I just do it flat. That's just so you guys can see, but this is a really, really good method. So an armrest, tip 1, so we can create different angles. A foam roller or some kitchen roll and just wrap it all up is the second option. The third option, and possibly the best, however it's the most expensive, obviously getting yourself body parts. You can get hands, you can get full arms, and then same again, if you put it onto your armrest, you can change the angle, but then it's as close as you're going to get to the real thing without having to actually tattoo a person. You can then move the arm about, tattoo the hand. Hopefully, mixing between these 3 things is going to drastically improve the transition from from fake skin and creating it as realistic and lifelike as possible to then moving on to a real human being. So just to recap, the first way, because of the cushioning, the movement, and also the fact that you can create different angles, get yourself a really good armrest. I've just purchased this one. It's an XL one or XXL. It's super big. You can rest on it. You can move about. I cannot wait to use it. So that's option number 1. Option 2, get yourself a foam roller. You can buy them on Amazon, super cheap. Rest your mats on, tape it on if you want, but it allows that curved tattoo experience. and it's also got a bit of movement in it. And it'll get you used to the stretching hand having to stabilize the area that you're tattooing. Super important, super realistic. It's what you've got to do in real life. So that's another good method. And then obviously the third point, most expensive, get yourself an artificial body part. Really, really good. What I would recommend is I wouldn't be just jumping into buying things like this straight away. Just use the armrest, use the foam roller, and once you work, for anybody later on in the course, if you're following Tattoo Method Pro and your work is to a very, very high standard, I'd just get yourself a couple of these, practice tattooing them, but they're really good pieces of art, like an ornament. Once you've done it, they're really good to have on display, showcase your work, what you're capable of, and they just look really good. So there's my 3 tips on how to take tattooing artificial skin or mats, whatever you want to call them, and making it as realistic as possible. Obviously in the videos, like I say, I just do it flat. That's just so the cameras can see everything and it's as easy for you guys to follow as possible. But here's just 3 little tips to make it more difficult and more lifelike, realistic. Hopefully that helped. As always, make sure that you're subscribed, hit the notification bell. Please let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this video, if you found these tips helpful. Give them a go, let me know what you think. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.